Hello everyone, this is your guy Rajat from rainstudios.com. So I'm back with yet another video, and today we are going to learn about modules in Node.js. Now this video is a part of a series where I am exploring more about Node.js, and if you are interested in learning everything about Node.js, make sure to check that playlist out, and maybe you can click on the card in this video to head over to that playlist. Okay, so let's get started with our modules. So what are modules in Node.js? Modules actually have one-to-one correspondence with the files on your operating system. So what do we mean by that? So this will be a hands-on lab session where I will be explaining things along the way as we are progressing later in the video. Okay, so we are going to make a simple program or a complete program, and we are going to explore more about modules in Node.js using that program. Okay, so for this tutorial we are going to create a calculator program. So that calculator will be a very minimal calculator which only supports addition and subtraction, but the intent of designing a calculator program is there so that you learn how to practically design and consume modules in your Node.js application. And there are some supplementary readings which you can do on your own apart from watching this video if you want to dig deep into the subject matter. Okay, so links will be in the video description, so make sure you check that out. I will also be writing a Medium post about some of the topics which I think would be quite complicated to explain in a video, so I will write those topics or those supplementary material in that blog post. So let's start with writing our program. So first of all, we are going to create a new folder to contain all the files of our project. Okay, so we are going to create a new calc folder, and we are going to cd to this, and we are going to launch Atom. So let's suppose I want to create a script which just tells that whenever I'm launching the calculator utility, that the calculator has launched. You might have seen similar functionality while launching your program. You see some kind of splash screen, right? So I want to notify the user that you are accessing this calculator program. Okay, so I can write a module to do that, right? So how will I do it? To do it, I'm going to simply create a new file, and I'm going to write console.log and welcome to the calculator. Okay, so this is a kind of greeting message. Okay, and I'm going to call it greeting.js. Okay, so we have got ourselves our first module. Now how can we actually consume this? Before starting the consumption of modules, I would like to drag your attention towards the module wrapper. So the way Node actually loads module is there is this wrapper function. So Node put all of your code inside that function. By doing that, it ensures that whatever variables you are defining in your module will stay local to your module and they don't mix up with each other. Suppose you have 2 or 3 modules like greeting 1, 2, 3, and you have defined constants like a, right? So you have defined the similar constant in all of those 3 scripts. So this methodology ensures that all of those constants are not mixing up with each other and they are kind of segregated into their own modules, right? Okay, also do notice that you will get access to some free variables like exports, require and module. Okay, so require will help us in importing new modules or extra modules to our code. Okay, and the module is actually the object which represents the module you are executing. Okay, so whatever you are executing in this code, the module will be the object representing that particular thing. Okay, and there are these 2 convenience variable, but I don't find any proper use case for that, so just leave that. And also exports is yet another convenience function which actually is a shorthand for module.export, and if you want to read more about the subject, you can read here. Okay, so we are going to use some knowledge of this wrapper function later in our video. So let's get back to our program. So we have our module ready. Okay, now we want to consume it. Let's write our main program calculator. Okay, so now consuming a module is as simple as writing require, okay, and your module name. Now notice that the path is relative, and this dot slash represents that the module is located in the same directory where our main function is located, or this particular file is located. So this is a relative path. Okay, so it is going to search in the relative path. Now let's save that as well in the calc directory and the calculator program JS. Okay, and now we are going to execute our program node calculator, and as you can see that we have successfully printed the greeting to the user. So this is a simple example of how module works in Node.js, right? Of course, there are many things you can do with modules, and we are going to explore a lot about modules. So as you have seen that our calculator has found our greetings.js, but how exactly is this finding of modules work? So to do that, I will use that same module variable. If you print that same module free variable from our wrapper function, you are going to get some useful info. So let's, for the time being, print the module to the console. Okay, so here it is. So as you can see, the export is empty. The file name contains the absolute value which represents the actual file on the system, and there are some other things as well. Okay, so notice this thing, paths. This is how Node actually discover your package. So as you can see that greetings.js is prefixed with /, which means that it's a relative path. But just consider if it was like that. So in that particular case, the discovery of this greetings.js would happen in a way like, first of all, this greeting.js will be searched in node modules of our calc folder, as you can see here. Okay, so this is an absolute path which will represent a node module folder located in our calc project directory. And if it is not going to find greetings.js inside that node modules directory, it is going to traverse up the file system hierarchy and append node modules to the absolute path, and the resulting directory would be the path where greetings.js would be searched in. So it will go up the calc directory and then try to find greetings.js inside node modules folder, and if it is not going to find it, it is going to again go up that directory and then try to find greeting.js in the node modules folder which is located in that directory. And if it is not going to find it, it will keep on repeating the same step again and again until it hits the very bottom of our file system, right? And if by then it is not able to find that, it will throw an error that it is unable to locate our module. Okay, but in our case, our file is a relative file, so we don't have to worry about this thing. But in all of the future cases which we will shortly look into, this kind of path discovery will happen. Okay, and we will ensure that Node is able to find our packages, and we are going to exploit this feature to design our new packages. Okay, now if we do something like require logger .js, okay, and then if we try to run our program, we are going to get the error because Node is unable to find this logger.js. It has searched all of that folders and it is unable to find our logger.js. So let's create a utility which only outputs whatever you are going to pass to it. Okay, so it's kind of a like echo function, right? So you are going to throw a message at it and it will just console print that message. Okay, so that will be a kind of utility for our calculator program. So let's write that utility. Now to actually make this statement work, we have to do a few steps. Like first of all, we have to satisfy a path requirement like this. So if we have node modules inside our calc directory and put our logger.js into that thing, then our node will be able to find our logger.js. Okay, so let's create a new folder with the name node modules. Okay, and inside that name modules, create a new file logger.js, and inside this logger file we are going to create a function. Now remember, I have told you about module and exports. Now if we want to create a function and if we want that function to be exported so that other utility program which are requiring our module can use that program, right? If you want such kind of utility from our modules, we can easily do that using module.exports. Okay, now you can export multiple things from your module, and when you are exporting something and you are going to module print it, you will get to see those exports here in this empty object. Okay, so let's module export a function which takes a message, okay, and simply console.log the message. Okay, so that is it. That is what we want this utility to do. It simply takes a message and console prints that. Okay, now let's see that whether our function is working now or not. Let me remove that module thing. As you can see that our logger function is working fine now because it is located in a path where Node.js can actually find it and load it. Okay, so both of our utility functions or modules are now loaded. Okay, now let's go a step further and let's create a local package. Now package can be considered as a collection of several modules, and you are going to expose some kind of aggregated functionality of all of those modules using some sort of interface. Okay, so let's create a module maths where we are going to create different modules like addition and subtraction, and then we are going to expose the functionality of all of those operations using an aggregated interface. So let's design such a module, and we will first design it as a local module. So we are going to create a folder and we will call it maths. Okay, and inside this folder we are going to create a new file, and that is add.js. Okay, and we will, like the earlier time, create a new function which takes 2 arguments and just returns the addition of these arguments. Okay, so that is it. That is what our addition function do. So let me quickly yank that, and let's create a new file as well for subtraction operation, subtract.js. Okay, so we are going to perform the subtraction in this. So it will just return the subtraction, and we are done. Now we have our basic mathematical operation functions. Now how can we actually club both of these functions in an interface where that particular interface will expose the functionality of our functions? So to do that, we are going to create an index file. Okay, and in that index file we are going to write module.exports. Now as you have seen that exports here is a shorthand for module.exports. Okay, so module.exports is actually an object, so that object can contain values. So in our earlier modules we have assigned this export the value of a function, right? But we can clearly assign property to our export object, so we are going to use it like export.add equals to require. So what is happening here? Index.module will export an object which will contain these two properties, and these two properties will be having value of the function, which will be this and this. Okay, now let's understand how this kind of packaging actually works. So if you are going to write node maths, no error has been reported, so it means that our package is valid. Now how package actually works? So when you wrote node maths, right, so what it actually did is, first of all, it searched for a file name maths. Okay, so if it has found it, then it will go inside that thing, and since it actually found a maths folder, so it actually went inside that folder. Now once it is inside that folder, it will search for package.json file. Package.json file contains the configuration for our package, but if that package.json file is not there, the default is to search for index.js file, right? And since it has found index.js file, it has consumed that index.js file and executed it, right? So that is what is happened here, right? All right, so if we are going to put a similar console.log.module to print out the information of the module from this thing, and if you are going to do it, you will get to see what we were talking about, that export now contains two property, add and subtract, and the value of those two property are the function, and the function bodies are this and this respectively. Now let's suppose you don't want to name your file index.js, you want to name it like maths.js, right? So in that particular thing, let's do that. maths.js, rename math. Okay, oops. Now let's try to test our function, and now as you can see that now node has failed in module discovery, right? So in this particular case, we need to have a new file, that is package.json, as we have talked about, and in that particular file you can do the configuration setting like main, which actually tells node that which is the main file for this package. Okay, so now we are going to tell node that math.js is the main file. Okay, and if you want, you can leave the .js notation and it will work. Okay, so now let's try to test our package. Now it is working fine, right? No error has been reported. Okay, so now our math package is full of functionalities and it is ready to be consumed by our main calculator program. Let's require our function, and since it is located relative to our calculator.js and it is a local package, we are going to put / or a relative path location so that Node will be able to discover this package. So we have required our math package. Okay, and now our calculator function is sort of ready for its prime time. To use our logger function, we first need to create a reference to it. So let's logger be this thing. Okay, and greeting is just a simple file which simply executes and return nothing. So we can leave greeting as it is, and we have successfully created references for our required modules. So let's use our logger to console print the expression we are going to throw inside these braces, and inside these braces we are going to put in the expression maths dot add, and then we are going to pass two inputs, and let's see whether it is working or not. And as you can see that our program is now working fine. It has console printed the addition of these two input variables. So now we have created a local package and consumed it. Okay, now if we don't want to use this relative path location, we can put this maths inside node modules like this. Okay, so now maths is inside this node module, and we can then just simply do math, and node will going to find it because it is going to find the modules in those particular paths we have talked about, right? So now let's test it out, and as you can see that node is still able to find it, right? Now let's suppose I don't always want to print this welcome to the calculator heading. Sometimes I just want to get the output, and that is it. I don't want this extra statement. What can I possibly do for it? Is there anything I can design so that I can get rid of this welcome to the calculator or the greeting part whenever I want to? Luckily, Node.js comes with a functionality where it can natively require .json files and .node files and C++ packages. Now, how can we actually do it? To do that, we are going to create a settings.json file which will contain the settings to turn the header on or off based on our requirement. So let's quickly create that JSON file, new file, and that will be settings.json. okay, so in that JSON file we are going to create a setting greeting, and its value will be off. Okay, so that is it. Now in this calculator file we are going to require our setting file or our setting module. I would like to tell you one more thing about the extension. You can leave out the extensions. So here, if we are going to leave out JSON, first of all, Node will try to match the settings with the exact file name. If it is going to find a file with its exact file name, it will consume it. If it is not going to find a file with the name settings, then it will try to find a file with the name settings.js. If it again fails in that particular case, it will try to find settings.json. okay, so in that particular case it will succeed, and even then if it is unable to find settings.json, it will try to find settings.node, and that is how file loading or file discovery actually works. And you can read more about file discovery from this official Node documentation. Okay, all right, so now we have required our settings. Okay, let's quickly consume that. So if our settings for the greeting is false, don't load greetings. Okay, and that is it. If settings.greeting is true, then only require this greeting, which in turn will print the greeting message to the console. So let's test out this particular thing. and as you can see that since the setting is false here, Node has skipped loading this particular greetings message. Now let's try to switch this setting on, and as you can see, now we have got our greeting. So that is how modules work in Node.js, right? So we have learned about how to create simple modules, how Node actually discovers module, right? How Node loads modules, and how we can actually create modules efficiently, package those modules, and in case we want to use some other naming convention for our packaging system, how to do it using package.json file, right? So we have learned all of those things in this video, right? Now there is one more thing which I think you should know, that Node actually catches your modules, right? So once it has loaded your module for the very first time, it will store that module in its cache, right? And the next time if you require that particular module again, it is not going to load that particular module again. It will only consume that module from the cache. To test that, if I require this greeting file again, will it print anything? Because what our greeting file is actually doing is just console printing this welcome to the calculator. So if I write this require 2-3 times, so how many greetings are you supposed to get? Only one, because Node has successfully cached this greetings.js, and no matter how many times we are going to call it, it will only use the cache value. It is not going to get the file again and execute it. Now there are ways to invalidate the cache, or you can remove this cached module from the Node, but I am not going to talk about it. You can head over to this wonderful post about Node.js, which I will leave a link to in the video, where you can learn how to invalidate the cache. Okay, now there is one more thing which I have intentionally left out in this video, and that is circular dependency and parent and child relationship among modules. Now from the practical perspective, I haven't found a practical use case for demonstrating parent-child relationship in this video. We have got ourselves a perfectly work calculator solution, right? So to explain the parent-child relationship, I will be using my Medium blog to explain what do we mean by parent-child relationship in modules. So make sure you check that post out in case you are wondering what do I mean by that. So with that, I'm just concluding this video, and I hope that now you have some kind of hands-on experience with how to write modules or how to write modular programs for Node. And make sure to subscribe to this channel, because I produce weekly computer tutorials and career advices videos for you. So with that, I'm just signing off. Take care. Bye bye.